The second Delphic Youth Games, they were in my Germany. And I must admit it was in Düsseldorf. And it was not so easy because we could not convince the highest authorities as we had it in previous games. And but it gave another surprise. There we had a theater, and the director of the theater said, I pull it off here in Düsseldorf at the official theater, and we will do it, and we will manage, and they did. And to my surprise, it was the first election of the heads, the executive board of the Delphic Games, to vote where the next games should be, and who will be the next leader. And our lawyers and the members were surprised. It was an offer from the Russian delegation. And the Russian delegation even offered to move to Moscow. And it was by one vote denied. Thank you very much. It's nice. However, we will not agree with it. And we had 3 leaders of the City Duma, St. Petersburg and Moscow. And they took the Russian representative and called him to order in a separate talk. And so the junior of the National Delphic Council Russia called his father. He can cut off his celebration of celebrating that we move away from Berlin. Yes, this was the surprise in Düsseldorf, so to speak. And thereafter, I must admit, 2005, we had the second Delphic Games for adults in Kuching. I never heard from Kuching in Malaysia before, I have to admit. And I was invited there before, and it was, how should I say, an experience, because the Russians wanted to have a revenge, and that's why they made the next games after their providing us with the first games for adults. They interfered. And so, I don't know if accidentally or by chance, the decision-making board of Sarawak was not in Sarawak and could not release the funds we needed. And we said, we do it anyway, but how we do it. And then friends of Malaysia said from the National Delphic Council, because I was welcomed by the director of the National Delphic Council, do you have $200,000 with you? I said, what? I always carry $200,000 with me in cash, but this time I forgot the briefcase. And he just disappeared. And now he left his people by himself. And then I said, what we do? Well, we have to ask Mr. Lee. Who is Mr. Lee? Oh, he's a dealer in the grocery section of Sarawak. And I said, okay, let's wait for Mr. Lee. Let's go there. And Mr. Lee was a Chinese businessman in a small little business boo. And they introduced me and said, we need your help, Mr. Lee. We have this, unfortunately, the government of Sarawak is not here and cannot provide us with the necessary funds. He said, What you do tomorrow? Mr. Lee asked me. I said, trying to find support. He said, be at 11 o'clock at the fashion show at that spot. I said, okay, we'll be there. Will you introduce me? No. I show you the person to talk to. You have to go yourself. And I was at the fashion show with my Malaysian friends. And he directed, this is the person you have to talk to. This was the governor, who was not part of the team being abroad. And said, how you manage, it's up to you. If I introduce you, you will reject it. If you do it yourself in your way, you might have a chance. It sounds like a story, but it's true. And I went there and said, sir, when he almost left after a short welcome speech to the fashion show people and to the organizer, he went off with his bodyguard and his little child, which was with him. And I said, sir, apology that I interrupt you walking away. I need your help. He looked and said, what for? We planned this, we planned this, we planned this. And now we are in the rain. Then, sir, we have to go. The bodyguard. The little girl, Daddy, come, it's time now. The father looked to the girl, to his security, and said to me, tomorrow at 11 o'clock in my office, please. You're welcome. Thank you, sir. And then he walked away. The next day I was at the office together with the head of the South African delegation with other delegations. And there we stood. And he organized by telephone call the place where we stood and united sculptures to be part of our performance, which were already in the park sculpturing in wood and in granite. And so, all of a sudden, the second Delphic Games there for adults became a celebration for Kuching, for the city of Kuching in the province of Sarawak. All of a sudden, it grew under the guidance of caring people. And here I want, if you don't mind, give you a hint how we bridge the generations. Because you have to consider the sculptors were there and got big logs and granite to hammer their sculpture. And all of a sudden, I stood by a sculpture and a family came around the third time, always looking at the stone, with a little girl and two little boys. The girl said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we have to be silent. The beauty sleeps in the granite." "Oh, it's just a stone." "No, it's more." And then he bowed on his knees on the eye height of the little girl and said, "You see here, this is the back. And this is the right arm, and this is the left arm, and these are the legs. And here is the head, just a little bowed to the ground." And the girl, wide eyes open, mouth open, and then said, "I see it! I see her! I see her!" And the parents had tears in their eyes, and we were deeply touched. The imagination of the young girl helped to see us and to open our eyes for those things the tiny ones see, but we adults overlook. And this was a remarkable memory of Malaysia and of their hospitality. Well, we had naturally the third Junior Delphic in Baguio City, because our founding member from the Philippines insisted on, let's do it here, because we tried again to move games to Greece, but Greece unfortunately was not prepared to do it, and so we did it in the Philippines. And in the Philippines, they used a grocery store in 6 floors high. There, the breakdance competition took place. And you have to consider, they had an atrium in the middle, and all 6 floors packed with youngsters. Underneath, the dancing field, then the jury, and then some selected members like us being there sitting on chairs looking for the performance. And then the DG, the disc jockey, just taking care of the music. And they danced great. And the young ones screamed their lungs out. And we old ones screamed our young ones. I tell you, we stood up and jumped and were happy. They were happy. And last but not least, the last two won, had so-called the battle of who is better. And one fell on his knees and said, "He is better. I want to learn from him." Big hello for both winners. And thereafter is the last surprise. The juries went in the center, and we all stand around. And the disc jockey start drumming, and they performed like hell, the jurors, in front of the young ones. And they saw, my goodness, they know what they evaluate. So even the prizes increased. And last but not least, the next day, the grocery store, 6 floors high, was packed. And the manager of the grocery store, "It was just the final competition, sorry, today is no show." But they laughed and were happy. And this was amazing in Baguio City. And so each games had its highlight, and each togetherness created new friends. And our highlight, naturally, with the water ceremony, were the next games 2009 in South Korea. They were the absolute highlight. 54 nations and 1,700 participants. I tell you, it was in South Korea, in Jeju. Jeju is an island between Japan and Korea, belonging politically to Korea. And it was the very first occupied country of the Japanese invasion to China, Second World War. And the last withdrawal also from Jeju. And that's why Jeju became the name Peace Island. And with this Peace Island, they wanted to show a peace sign. And this peace sign remained. They did it in a wonderful way in uniting us, in bringing us together, and also the whole island was with us, and we had a band traveling with us from Germany. It's the Dudelsack. It was this blowing instrument which squeezes. It's so funny. Almost everyone knows this song. And so it was just, and they promoted Delphic Games are here, and they toured through the whole island from city to city, from village to village, and played. And with this, they left a sign and a footprint there as well. So this was the largest and biggest ones, and the most inspiring ones. No, one, you can't say most inspiring. It was 2011 in South Africa. A different shape, a different coming together, and recognizing that we had very intense supporters, such as Nelson Mandela, becoming the ambassador for the youth, for us. And his Minister of Education was ambassador in Germany for South Africa. And he invited us, and he was with us, and finally he became a member of the Amphictyony, the executive board of ours, and served as a member for the arts. These are the so-called 7 Delphic Games, I can tell you, and it is just the beginning. Now, the next 30 games or years are waiting for you as listeners, and I, wherever I can be, I look from above or from underneath and keep the thumbs together. God bless you. I must admit, when I was wrong in my evaluation, I cannot blame someone else. So I made good and bad decisions. And so I wouldn't say worse. I learned from the worse and got the positive things in my mind. So I have no particularly issue, even if it happened and I was disappointed blamed, but it's only me. I serve an aim, the Delphic aim, the Delphic Games of modern times. And this is finally the obligation to create peace and to be grateful. When I came to Berlin and got an office place sponsored by a businessman from Munich who wanted to buy an automobile distribution center in the East and bought all of it. And he said, I like your idea, Christian, you come up with in Munich. It was born in Munich and then I moved to Berlin. And he said, I like it, and so I supply you with an office for free. And on the way to the office, I got old desks and old chairs. It was the wardrobe of the drivers of the president of former GDR, very small room. And I'm on the stairs going down. And all of a sudden, a woman came down the stairs, and I said, Grüß Gott, the way as God bless you in Bavaria. And she just answered, oh my God, a Bavarian, here by us in Berlin. I said, oh wonderful, what is your name? And she said, Waltraud Kretschmann. And I said, what are you doing? Well, I have here a travel agency. And what are you doing? Well, I'm doing something crazy. Delphic Games. Oh, And you speak English? Yes. Oh, can you help me? I need help in English. I said, yes, fine. Do you speak Russian? I need help in Russian language. She said, yes, I learned Russian. And this was the most beautiful thing which happened to me, having met my partner, friend, co-founder, supporter, and putting up with the Delphic Games and me. I'm deeply blessed. This was the best moment in my life.